Ladies and gentlemen, we are through the first 6 hours of the 2022 24 Hours of Le Mans, and we've had some quite interesting storylines play out throughout these first 6 hours. So first up, I'm going to talk about kind of the positioning in each class, kind of how each class is going, and then I'll talk about some other storylines that have kind of showed up recently, relating to the first 6 hours of the race. So first up, in the Hypercar class, it's Toyota, who has led from the drop of the green flag. They've held those first two spots almost entirely throughout the entire first 6 hours of the race. It's gone back and forth, but at the moment, the number 7 Toyota, being piloted by Kamui Kobayashi, is currently leading. Second, who is only about 7 seconds behind, is the number 8 Toyota of Ryo Hirakawa. Third overall right now is the number 708 Glickenhaus, which is being piloted by Pipo Derani. And fourth fastest right now is the number 709 Glickenhaus, being piloted right now by Ryan Briscoe, is fourth. As for the Alpine, they've had some pretty major issues throughout the first part of the day, throughout the first 6 hours. Right now, they're sitting 28th overall, which is just in front of the Corvette GTE that's leading right now. So that is due to two separate incidents where they have had, theoretically, some type of mechanical issue. It's not exactly clear what the issue is. They haven't said anything about it on the broadcast, and I haven't been able to find anything about it on Twitter. But they're having issues with the car, and they've had 2 times where they went into the garage and have sat in there for a few laps and fixed something and lost, at the moment, around 8 laps to the lead Toyota. At this point, the question is not, at this point, Alpine, barring some major 2017 level weird stuff happening. At this point, the question is Alpine going to be able to beat the lead LMP2? If they stay on pace like they are right now and are able to go the rest of the night without any issues, they might be able to. It looks like they're a bit off the pace of the Toyotas, which is obviously expected. Before they were having mechanical issues, they were still 5th. It's unclear how much time they're losing to the Toyotas. It looks like it's about 2 to 3 seconds every lap. We're not exactly far enough into the race to know how much time hypercars gain on LMP2s over the course of a race. It seems like it took about 4 hours before you started to see the Toyotas lapping the lead LMP2s. Don't exactly know how long it's going to take for the Alpine to get above the lead P2 car. It's going to either happen near the end of the race or not happen at all. So the race is pretty much over at this point for Alpine, which I'm sure is annoying for them. Glickenhaus, the 709, had some sort of issue. It seemed like a turbocharger sensor issue was what Jim Glickenhaus had said. They actually had to come into the pits and fix real quick, and they had to go to the garage and do that. And they were able to fix it real quick. They only lost less than a lap because they're still on the lead lap at this point and were able to get back out, which is odd. At this point, number 7, number 8, the 708, and the 709 are all 4 on the lead lap. So the 4 hypercars that are still in the running at this point and haven't had major issues are all still in the lead lap. The 709 is 3.5 minutes behind the lead Toyota, so likely, next half an hour they're going to be getting lapped, possibly, lapped in a pit cycle or something. But at this point, for the moment, all of the hypercars, or 4 out of the 5 hypercars, are still on the lead lap, and it looks like Alpine at this point is out of contention. And they've just really struggled in general today. I had talked about yesterday at the end of the IndyCar video, I talked about Alpine's situation with BOP. It's really hurt him at this point. It's very obvious that was a stupid decision to make. Alpine had already struggled, and it was questionable whether, tanking, sandbagging, whatever, to try to get better BOP. At this point, it's clear they weren't sandbagging, and they got hit pretty badly by BOP. I mean, on the start, and I'll show a video of this, on the start, the Alpine got passed by both of the Glickenhauses going down to turn 1. They straight up out-dragged the Alpine down to turn 1. And from that point on, Glickenhaus was 3rd and 4th. So it's very clear at this point that the Alpine is down on pace. The Alpine had actually gotten passed by an LMP2 on the start too, and it took them, I mean, almost a lap, maybe even over a lap, to get past that, it was Robert Kubica. And like on the Mulsanne, where you'd think, you know, the hypercars are going to be faster, they have a tow, he wasn't able to pass him. It ended up being just, you know, working by him at some point in the track. It's Alpine is definitely down on straight line speed, which isn't helped by the fact that they lost 15 horsepower Friday, which means they had a warm-up session to test that. Just saying. I really don't know why Alpine got BOP'd and Toyota didn't. I don't think there was any question that Alpine was slower than Toyota, and yet they got BOP'd, and whatever. It seems like it wouldn't have mattered anyways, because obviously they've had other mechanical issues throughout the race, but it was still annoying to see in the first hour and a half, just how slow the Alpines were and how much they had gotten screwed by BOP. Stupid, but whatever. Moving on to LMP2, we've had a pretty interesting battle in the P2 class. The P2 class is currently being led by the number 38 Jota Sport car, Roberto Gonzalez. Second overall is the Prema number 9, being driven by Lorenzo Colombo. Third in P2 is the number 28 Jota, driven by Ole Rasmussen. Fourth is the number 13 TDS Valiante car, being driven by Nick De Vries, who's actually a late addition to that car, as the driver who was originally supposed to be there had gotten kicked out of the event after a FP1 crash. So this is De Vries. De Vries hasn't gotten a lot of running this week, and he's able to kind of get put in the car, and he's been running okay. P2's in the middle of a pit cycle right now, so I've got the timing screen pulled up, and it's going all over everywhere, so I can't exactly tell who's all where. But you've got the other cars that I think have generally, been in that region. The Inter-Europol, number 43, has actually been decently fast. I think they're about a lap or two ahead of the rest of the P2 class on pit stops. So if they can keep that up for the rest of the race, maybe they can get a pit cycle on other P2 cars and gain, that'll probably be a minute or something they gain from that. So the Penske number 5 has been doing decent. That's really about all I have. It's hard to see exactly what's going on when they're in the middle of a pit cycle. I didn't take a picture of the standings, which I guess I could have, but didn't think about that prior to that happening. Of course, P2 is going to be the most competitive class. They've got a lot of cars, and Formula Oreca. It's pretty competitive. So within, it seems generally I'd say every hour or 2 hours you're going to end up getting a pass for the lead in P2. So at this point, it's not like Hypercar where it's pretty obvious at this point that Toyota's going to win. I think anyone within the top 10 or 15 in P2 right now could still win if they, do well in the night or whatever. So obviously that is still up for grabs. Moving on to the GTE Pro category, it's currently being led and has been led for almost the entire race by the number 63 Corvette. They're 9 laps off the lead Hypercars right now, and the number 63 Corvette being driven by Antonio Garcia. They've been the class of the field in GTE Pro for most of the race. Second right now, 28 seconds back, is the number 92 Porsche. And then third is the number 64 Corvette, being driven by Nick Tandy. The Porsche, is 28 seconds back from the lead Corvette. And the number 64 Corvette is 37 seconds back from the lead Corvette, which is, 9.5 seconds from the Porsche. That, I'd say, within the GTE Pro field has been the one of two battles, and I'll talk about the other one here in just a second. The 63, obviously, like I talked about, has been leading. I'd say there's generally 30-45 second gap to the Porsche and the number 64 Corvette, who have been kind of swapping positions back and forth. And then moving on down the field, currently fourth is the number 52 AF Corsa car, being driven by Miguel Molina. He's about a minute 20 behind the lead Corvette right now. And fifth is the number 91 Porsche, who is about a second behind the number 52 AF Corsa car. That's the other battle. Obviously, they're very close right now. They've been going back and forth as well throughout most of this race. I'd say in the GTE Pro field, the number 92 and the 64, and then the 52 and the 91 have been the two kind of battles that we've seen throughout the day so far. Of course, we're getting into the night now. The track's just now dark at this point. So this is where we're really going to start to see some changes take, effect. Obviously, we know at this point who's got the best car in, warm conditions. But for the next 10 hours or so, it's going to be interesting to see who has the best car in the nighttime. Is there anyone that's able to gain a lot of time for this? That is obviously still to be seen. So that's about all I have for GTE Pro. Obviously, the 63 leading right now. Number 92 is second. Number 64 Corvette is third. The 52 AF Corsa car is fourth. Fifth is the number 91 Porsche. Sixth is the number 51 AF Corsa car, who's about 30 seconds behind the battle in front of him. And then last in GTE Pro is the Riley Motorsports number 74, who's about a lap behind the Corvette right now. And lastly, we're going to be taking a look at the GTE Pro battle. Right now, leading the GTE Pro class is the number 79 WeatherTech Porsche. Second is the number 98 Northwest AMR car. Third is the number 77 Dempsey Proton car. Fourth is the number 33 TF Sport car. And fifth is the number 99 Hardpoint Motorsports car. So out of the GTE AM field, it's been the 79 WeatherTech Porsche has led quite a bit of the race so far. It seems like they've, especially recently, they've been, up there and holding that lead pretty well. Right now, they're about 45 seconds ahead of the trailing Northwest AMR car. Dempsey Proton is... the Dempsey Proton car is about 10 seconds behind the Northwest AMR car at the moment. TF Sports another 30 seconds back of the Dempsey Proton 77. And then, I don't know, I'm kind of trying to come up with things to say for GTE Pro, but there's not a lot I can think of. It's, I don't know, again, it's GT, so, these things kind of go back and forth throughout the race. It'll really... obviously, it'll fluctuate at some point. Looks like the WeatherTech 79 has been able to hold down the lead pretty well. Obviously, we'll see how that changes overnight. But yeah, that's about all we've got for GTE AM. So the main thing I'm going to talk about here, and actually one second, because the Corvette, the number 64 Corvette, I've got the live stream pulled up here on my timing screen, since I'm obviously away from my TV. The number 64 Corvette actually just got pulled into the garage, so they're going to fall down to at least 6th, possibly even last in the class in 7th. So that's an interesting development that just happened right now, actually. But anyways, what I was going to talk about was on the start, the number 22 United Autosports LMP2 had gotten squeezed, essentially. So it looked like they were trying to go 3 or 4 wide into the Dunlop corner, the first corner, and the United Autosports car got stuck essentially in the middle of that. He was slightly behind the 2 cars in front of him who came across him, assumingly not knowing he was there. The number 31 WRT had moved over to the left. They collided. And then the United Auto Sports 22 just went straight on into the gravel. He got stuck there and lost a lap in the gravel, and then another lap or so trying to get everything on that car fixed. At the moment, they're actually running somewhat in the pack within the LMP2 class. They're running 19th overall right now, 15th in P2. They're only about a lap behind the P2 leaders, and they've continued to kind of move up through that group. At this point, most of the people they're around are Pro-Am guys, so obviously not kind of his direct competition. I don't know, LMP2 and LMP2 Pro-Am is weird, but at this point, it was looking like all hope was lost for the number 22, and generally that would be the assumption in a situation like that, but it doesn't exactly look like that. The 22 has recovered remarkably well from the first lap crash they were involved in, so I guess that could be something to watch as the race kind of continues to go on. It's been a bit interesting watching the number 22 United Auto Sports car recover from the first lap crash. Now, I talked about the 31 WRT car. They ended up getting a 1-minute stop and hold penalty, which put them all the way down to 14th overall, which is 10th in P2. They, at that point, were they were, fourth or whatever, and were forced to do that penalty. So obviously that's a big blow to them. But even a minute isn't necessarily, going to take them out of the running, and WRT is a really strong team. So that's, I guess, something else to watch. Is the WRT team able to make up some of that time? Because, it seems like they'd be kind of one of the groups you're expecting to be competing for an overall win in P2. So, yeah, that's about all I have for this first 6 hours of the 24 hours of Le Mans. I'll be back with another 6-hour review at 10 p.m. Eastern, probably a little bit after that. Yeah, that's about all I have. I'm still undecided on whether I want to do another one at 4 a.m. I don't know if I'm going to be able to stay up that late, but I don't know. I'm still undecided on that. But that's about all I have. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see y'all in another 6 hours. Bye.